All right, it's Friday. It's Friday. So thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it's a Friday. I know a lot of people are celebrating a lot of different awarenesses. People are celebrating homecoming. Shout out to HU, my alma mater, right? So if you're spending some time live or catching the replay, you are most appreciated, especially as we have this conversation about really eliminating skill set amnesia. So, first, I know a lot of y'all are probably like, okay, ma'am, what is skill set amnesia? So, it's really when people have spent time in their workplace and spaces, they've sat through trainings, and they really have come to understand some things about communication, collaboration, right? Really good skills that, for different reasons, we're not going to talk about the reasons today, but for different reasons, they leave the skill set at the door when they cross that threshold, entering into their own personal space with their significant others, with their kids, right, with friends. That all of those tools, that amazing toolbox that was curated, usually at work, goes absolutely out the door, right? So you all from here, just a couple of things before we get too deep. Again, thank you so much. I want to invite you to like, share, tag other people. Make sure that you share this, you save it to refer back to, because again, I don't want any of you all to get caught up at all and end up in this skill set amnesia, because it causes a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings. So we're not even getting fully into the aftermath, what happens in the end, but we're having some good conversation about not getting caught up in the first place. Some things to consider, reflect on, and to act upon. So again, yes, there's a lot of different awarenesses in October. In October, I'll say I am biased. It's a very special month for me. My anniversary, my business birthday, my personal birthday. I mean, I love October, okay? But one of the things that we're really emphasizing is also communicate with your kids month. Now, why it's only 1 month, we'll talk about that another time, but it's also communicate with your kids month. So, all the lurkers, if you normally just kind of stop and watch, y'all please say hello. Let us know that you're watching, because we appreciate your views and engagement. Okay. But we invite you to be a part of the holistic hedge. So we're going to jump right in. So if we're always working to stretch and build our relational capacity, then we have to have these conversations. These are things we have to talk about. And so this evening, we're talking about challenging and eliminating skill set amnesia, right? So again, all of those awesome, amazing skills, that toolbox that you've curated, usually from work, in terms of interacting with others, collaborating, relating, communication, asking questions, right? A lot of us are pros at, well, what I heard you say was, but when we cross the threshold of home, it stops, especially when it comes to our young people. Again, talking about communicating with your kids month. So, we're going to specifically talk about, okay, before I get started, let me say, protect your toes. I'm not planning to tap dance on any toes tonight. I might brush up against your toes a time or two, but that's the point of these conversations, to not only reflect, but to be propelled and motivated to act, right? Moving past maybe some sympathizing, like, yeah, I can understand, to empathizing when you're actually applying some action behind it. Here we go. So, first thing, when we talk about social contracts, some of you all might be like, okay, Nika, what are social contracts? It goes by a few different names. Some people call them maybe the rules of engagement. Some people call them social norms, community norms, so many nicknames and aliases. But basically, what is that guiding contract agreement, right? That is going to help us stay on track, keep us organized, keep us devout in our communication. Okay. So here we go. Again, a lot of us, and I'll say this, even if you picked up those tools and strategies in different spaces, different places, maybe you did mostly have a lot of development at work, maybe some of us. We saw development personally and on our own. So whether you got fully engaged in it and really apply it and understand it, or you're like, okay, this is a compliance mode for me, I'm just sitting through it to get through it, then you still have gleaned some things along the way. You have. So the first thing we're going to talk about for social contracts, these social agreements, why do you think? Why do you think it's important usually to have all hands on deck when we're building and lifting? When it's time to go ahead and put it together, time to put the plan together. Why do you think? Why do you think that's important to have all hands on deck? Okay, so one of the things why we want to have the team do the building and the lifting is, first I'll answer from a couple of different perspectives. So I'll answer from the administrator C-suite level, right? Their answer may sound a little something like this, that really it increases the buy-in, it increases the effort and impact behind the the actual agreement, right? If you were there for the planning, you were there for the process, then you'll be there to help make sure that the implementation goes that much more smoothly, that it's implemented more consistently, and that you help hold each other accountable. Yeah. So that's the C-suite answer. When we talk about front line, where it might require more of your day-to-day time and attention, a lot of those answers tend to be like, well, really, again, when someone gets out of line, then we all were there for the agreement, so we all can help remind them, we can help them recall what they agreed to, what they participated in agreeing to. And notice, let me say this, notice that I said when someone gets out of line, because it's going to happen, you all. Like, if people are involved in any of these situations, right? People are involved. We need to expect that it's not going to be perfect every day. So it would be wise to have some kind of not just thought process, but a specific plan behind it, because it's not going to be perfect every day, because people simply are not perfect. Yes? Okay. So next, when we are kind of drawing some parallels, we could even think about how, let's say, like a kid. And I'm saying a kid, and let me kind of give us some parameters. So when I say a kid, meaning not a toddler or not an adolescent. So, adolescent would be tweens, teens, and into young adulthood. But if we're saying that kid, that person between toddlerhood and adolescence, just a kid right in the middle, I'm talking about them. The reason I'm not talking about toddlers or adolescents is because we're trying to talk about rules of engagement, social contracts and agreements. And the rule, listen, they operate by a different set of rules in those phases of life. So we'll talk about that another time. But that average kid right in the middle of those two very specific and unique phases. Usually what happens is, let's say a kid develops a picky eating palate. Maybe their eating habits change suddenly. No, I don't want this. No, it's a lot of no's. And so a lot of us have been there, or we've witnessed someone go through that with a young person, right? So usually the advice, the response is, well, let's make sure that you get them in the kitchen. You make them a part of the process so they can cook with you, so they can see all the ingredients. They can be a part of the process. And so then at the end, they can definitely enjoy the fruits of their labor. Because the thought process, the mindset behind it is, well, if you were there from top to bottom, right? We got all of our ingredients in place, right? We did our mise en place. We made sure we prepped, we sauteed, we sliced, we diced, we plated, right? We everything is on point. Then if I've gone through all of this work, why would I not make sure that it was really not just presented well, but why would I not make sure to partake of it? So in that sense, definitely eating and having and enjoying the meal that you created. But on a different level, if we're talking about the social contracts, social agreements, I was there from top to bottom. So my input, what I wanted to do and things I did not want to include, I got to speak on that. So I'm pretty happy with this. Super similarly to what happens in the kitchen, right? Okay. So there's a few questions I'm going to share with you, literally a few, just for And the last two are extra powerful, kind of spicy, but we're going to talk about them really quickly. So, first, one of the first questions is when we're talking about best practices and things for building out and having a true collaborative process for your social agreements, your social contracts. The first question is, hey, how do you want me to treat you? Now, whether you have them respond anonymously, if it's an organization, if you have, you're just having a conversation with your young person or maybe adult kids, right? Then you decide. But the fact of the matter is, this question needs to be asked and addressed. It has to be asked and addressed. So, how do you want me to treat you? That's question one. Now, I know some of you all might be thinking, well, okay, we just said that we can have different levels of impact, different input. Yes, but that's part of the process. That's part of the process. We want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard and people feel seen and represented, and we have proof of the representation because it's documented. Okay. So, also with that, what happens in this phase, in this part of the collaborative process, what happens is people often start to do the nice words. I call them the nice school aged words. So, how do you want me to treat you? Nicely, with respect. I mean, and some of y'all are like, yes and yes, right? Y'all are co-signing, like, yes, sign me up. I want to be a part of this group for that social contract. But the reality is, they really didn't say anything. It's really not meaningful because we cannot understand the action or thought process behind it. Let me tell you what I mean. So I don't know what nice and respectful looks like or sounds like to you if we don't qualify, if we don't get more specific. So yeah, we're going to have to build it out way past those the nice school words, right? Of yeah, I want to be treated nicely and with respect. No ma'ams, no sirs. We have to build it out. We have to build it out for sure. So that's the first question. Second question, how are we going to react? What are we going to do when conflict arises? Again, I said when. Again, I said when because we talked about it just a moment ago. When people are involved, every day is not going to be perfect. So maybe you might think that you know how someone is going to react. You might tend to know their general reaction, but maybe that day is not that day, right? You couldn't call it that day. So when there is conflict, when there is a disagreement, right? When there is a different view, differing perspectives, how are we going to behave then? How are we going to interact with each other then? All right. And again, building it out. We're not doing the cute words. It's not productive. It's not effective to do the cute words, the cute, again, school words. Okay, we have to say what it looks like, what it sounds like. We have to qualify it. We must. All right, now these last two questions, if you're just building out, it's a simple but very effective social contract. These last two are a little bit spicy, right? It's going to challenge you a bit more. The third question, and some of you all may have wondered why did it take so long to get to this one? How do you think I want to be treated? All right, so let's give it some legs. So if we're talking about through the lens of parenting, then think about how a lot of people, there's a lot of conversation, I'll say, about whether or not today's young people feel very entitled about things, their perspective. Pause. If we're able to have these conversations with them early, we're able to build out these social contracts. Imagine how much more human that makes their adults, their parents, their guardians seem because they have an understanding of, oh, yeah, no, they want to be treated a certain kind of way too. It helps them step outside of themselves. Slash, and also as a leader, right? I've had some conversations with some leaders, and some leaders, they didn't say it this way, but I'm saying it this way. Your people are ignoring you. They're tuning you out. They're ignoring you. They're not paying attention to your directives or your attempt at communication. So it also gives them some insight as well. Like, a lot of the focus, just like parent child, may be on the parent side of on the child side of the relationship. So we're making sure recalibrate, rebalance the relationship, the viewpoints, so that both sides are represented. Same thing in the workspace, that we're mindful of some things that might be going on with the leaders, and making sure that we're treating them with a certain type of respect, right? And but being specific about it, right? And just other things that they may request. Also, through the lens of education, a classroom educator, a lot of times people will talk about, you know what, the emphasis is always on the young people. Yes, the result is the student achievement. However, we're talking about building this culture, these social contracts. That's why this third question, how do you think I want to be treated, again, is so very important. And we're giving it legs because we want to make sure that our young people, that we help them with perspective, right? We don't want to continue to have a society that has perspective problems. We want to make sure that the young people understand that, you know what, just like my adult at home, my parent guardian, they have certain ways they want to be treated. So does the educator that stands in front of me every day, right? That's very basic, but it's not happening as much. So that's why this third question, that's why I said some of the questions are a little spicy, but we want to make sure that we address them and we talk about them. And again, even as the adult, we're modeling. So just like I said, for the younger people, or if it's a team you support as a leader, you don't want to just take or accept nicely with respect. There's way too many factors that impact what what your frame of reference is for nice. So what if nice was, well, I just didn't, I made sure to not, talk about you behind your back, or I made sure that, I wasn't using curse words in your presence. But when I say it nicely, I'm thinking more manner based, like please and thank you. If we made eye contact, please say hello. That's why we have to build it out. We have to build it out. The fourth question, and the fourth question is especially powerful if home life, there's siblings involved, / organization life, there's a team of people. The fourth question is, how will you treat each other? How will you treat each other? So sometimes people say, well, if I'm an only child, NA, it's not applicable. Well, we're still thinking about and starting to build your frame of reference for interacting with people, period. So that would also apply to your friends, right? I've heard of, and we've used this with helping younger kids understand friend groups, right? So how will you treat each other? We said already in organizations, making sure that they understand, right, as a team, and whether you're in a department, whether it's a leadership team, and it's a number of, people that occupy the C-suite, y'all have to have some regulations as well. How will you treat each other? Right, that fourth question. So again, even if there's an age gap that comes up sometimes, well, my sibling is a big age difference, maybe for a little while, but why can we not speak to that, especially as they start to get a little older and understanding deepens, especially for the younger sibling? Why can we still not address it? Okay. And one more time, I think I've said this with every question, but I'm going to say it one more time, making sure that we are very specific about what it looks like and what it sounds like to you. We're way past the school answers, nicely, with respect, kind, those, a bunch of synonyms. We're past that. What does it look like? What does it sound like? What will work for you? And maybe we can ask the question and talk about it. What doesn't work, so we can make sure that the social contract is written on the affirmative side and the positive light. Like, these are the things we want to see. And again, going back to, if it's a truly collaborative process and we've made sure to ask these 4 questions, then because I told you it's going to happen, when it's time to hold each other accountable, if someone's messing up the social contract, boop, it's right there. And for a little extra flair, we sign it, right? There's your signature right there. Look at that right there. Okay, so we can address it. We can hold each other accountable with much more fidelity. / people are much more likely to carry it out with not as much shenanigans and not as many problems, because they were there for the building of it. So they got to speak on what they agreed with, what they didn't agree with. So I really cannot emphasize enough. Yes, eliminating skill set amnesia when we're at home working with our young people in honor of Communicate with Your Kids Month. But also, you all, as a leader, and whether you're a leader in the home space, in an organization, a corporation, on a school campus, any type of institution, I cannot stress enough how important this is, how impactful this is, okay? So, again, yeah, thank you so much for listening in and joining the conversation today. If you missed, especially the 4 questions where we talked about these are the guiding questions to really set up an effective social contract, right? So you're making sure to apply those good communication skills that you know and have developed. Go ahead and catch it from the beginning. Please do put hashtag replay in the comments. Let us know you're listening. We really appreciate it. All right. So this is our update today for the Holistic Hedge. Talk to y'all later.